Hello and welcome back to our live coverage of the Bundesliga with total football analysis. I'm your commentator, Harry Symeou, and I'm joined once again, as I was yesterday, by the brilliant Lee Scott. Lee, welcome back. How are you, mate?
I'm good, thanks, Harry. How are you?
Not too bad, my friend, not too bad. And yesterday gave us a feeling of normality once more, didn't it? Working on live football games, albeit under strange circumstances, is exactly what we want, isn't it?
I did, I think so. I think the general consensus from people around the world watching the Bundesliga was it was nice to have some football back that we could watch. Obviously, we'd all prefer that the stands were full and the crowds were in place and everything else that surrounds the game is normal, but it's just nice to have it back.
Absolutely, it is indeed. And today we're bringing you coverage of Union Berlin versus Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich lead the top of the Bundesliga, of course, but their lead was cut to just a solitary point yesterday when Borussia Dortmund ran out 4-0 winners in the Riviera Derby. Today they travel to the German capital to take on Union Berlin for the first time. That's the first time they're going to play them at their stadium. Union Berlin are without their manager, though, today, Urs Fischer, who's absent after breaking lockdown rules to be with his family following his father-in-law's death. Now, it's not ideal circumstances, but the Bundesliga are right to be strict about this, aren't they?
I think so. I think you can't really argue with it, but at the same time, you completely understand why Fisher chose to go be with his family at that point with a family member passing away. I think the football always has to take a back seat to things like that. Things that surround family always come first. It'll be interesting to see what kind of effect that has on Union today. I think it was going to be a tough game for them before that. Never mind now.
Absolutely. And Bayern are without Corentin Tolisso and Felipe Coutinho, who are both long-term absentees. Niklas Süle has returned to training but isn't ready to feature yet. Union Berlin are without Yunus Mali, who is unavailable after testing positive for the coronavirus. And Geraldo Becker, Akaki Gogia are both injured. Marvin Friedrich is also suspended. Now, let's take you through the starting lineups. We'll start with the home side, Union Berlin, who, as we've already mentioned, are without their manager today. He is not in attendance for the reasons we've just mentioned. Number one in goal is Rafael Gikiewicz. Neven Subotic, Florian Hubner, and Kevin Schlotterbeck are the back. I think it's more of a back five that we're going to see from Union today, but they're the three centre halves with Christopher Trimmel and Christopher Lenz playing on either side the flanks. And number 28, Christopher Trimmel, is the Union Berlin captain. In the centre of the park, they've got Grisha Prömel and Robert Andrich. In front of them is Marcus Ingvartsen and Marius Buelta. And up front is Anthony Uja, the Nigerian forward. Anything that stands out to you when you look at that Union Berlin team, Lee?
The big thing that stands out is that Uja is starting up front as opposed to Anderson, the Swedish striker. Anderson's been one of the most dangerous players for Union over the first half of the season, so I'd expected to see him in the starting lineup for this game. It could be that his condition is not right, just as with yesterday, we're not sure. I think you're correct. It will be a back five. I think that we're going to see a 5-4-1 system of sorts from Union in this match. I think that the key threat that they have is through set pieces, and that's where Trimmel, the right wing back and their captain, is key. He's got a really good delivery. They get quite a lot of joy from attacking those low, hard corners that he'll hit. Not much trajectory on them, flat, quite just towards head height, but they're extremely effective at attacking the 6 yard box.
And to highlight how good Trimmel's delivery is, 9 assists in the Bundesliga so far this season. That's pretty impressive for a right wing back, isn't it?
Absolutely, and somebody as well who's potentially coming towards the end of his career, 33 years old now, the Austrian. Not somebody who was overly heralded before the beginning of the season, but he's taken to the Bundesliga very well. And as I say, his ability to get the ball into the penalty area as well as being solid defensively is really key in this match.
Absolutely. Let's move on to the Bayern team, of course, managed by Hansi Flick. Manuel Neuer is in between the sticks, as we expected. He's been an ever-present for Bayern this season. Across the back four, it's Benjamin Pavard, Jerome Boateng, David Alaba and Alphonso Davies. In the middle of the park, it's Joshua Kimmich and Thiago Alcantara, with Leon Goretzka, Thomas Müller and Serge Gnabry playing a supporting role to Robert Lewandowski. Now, aside from the obvious threat that Robert Lewandowski brings and the incredible goal record that he has this season, where else are you looking at this team and thinking those are the key areas for Bayern?
I think the really interesting thing with Bayern, especially when you see this lineup, is the difference between how they attack down the left and down the right. And they have different strategies, if you like. So on the left hand side, I believe we'll see Serge Gnabry line up in the left of the attack. And with Alphonso Davies, the Canadian international, behind him, Alphonso Davies is extremely quick, extremely powerful, and loves to attack down the left hand side. So Gnabry will move inside to allow Davies to have that space. On the right hand side, and on the other hand, Benjamin Pavard is more of a defensive fullback. So expect to see his position retained a little bit deeper, almost in the same line as the centre backs when Bayern are in possession. While Thomas Muller, who's likely to feature just ahead of him on the right, is of course famed for being able to move wherever he likes in this Bayern attack. You'll see him take up the same kind of positions that we saw from Julian Brandt yesterday for Borussia Dortmund.
Absolutely. And just to let you guys know as well, you can sign up to the Hot Mic app if you're watching us via the Total Football Analysis YouTube channel. All you need to do is download the app, use the promo code TFA2020, and you can sync our commentary with your television set. Total Football Analysis bringing you an alternative soundtrack to some of your favourite games. Elsewhere in the Bundesliga earlier today, it finished FC Köln 2, Mainz 2, goals from Uth and Kynes for the home side. And Awoniyi and Kunde got the goals for Mainz. Mainz, of course, were 2-0 down, and a surprise comeback there, and one that they'll be very pleased with. But Köln will be, of course, equally as disappointed. Elsewhere, what else is going on in Total Football Analysis? Shortly after this game, you'll be able to pick up the video analysis of the game we covered yesterday, which was between Borussia Dortmund and Schalke in the Riviera Derby. And also, May's second edition of the magazine will be out next week, so stay tuned for that. How are you expecting this one to go, Lee? I know Bayern are the overwhelming favourites here, and Union have been famed for having a really good crowd, a great atmosphere at their stadium. But without that, you have to feel like maybe their chances have gone.
I think it's going to be difficult for them. I think I was talking to somebody else about Union earlier today, and the best comparison that I can draw for them, that those that don't normally watch the Bundesliga, is that they play in a very similar way to Burnley in the English Premier League. That's not to say that they're long ball merchants. Rather, they're very direct with the way that they move the ball forward. You'll see a lot of driven passes into the half spaces where the forward will come down. They'll contest for aerial balls, and then they'll try and get second and third balls from there to build. And then obviously we've already touched upon the fact that they rely on set pieces. So they're not a side who enjoys a great deal of possession anyway. That they're more of a direct attacking threat rather than somebody who's going to pass around you and try and find holes and spaces to play into. Bayern Munich, on the other hand, are very, very possession orientated. We can expect to see them dominate with well above 60% of the play, I would imagine. Thiago and Joshua Kimmich in midfield are two of the most progressive passers in the Bundesliga and in European football. And David Alaba playing in that centre back role is the same, just behind them. So expect to see Bayern with a lot of the ball while Union try to sit off a little bit and try to defend. But Bayern will press, so they will try to press that first direct pass out from the centre backs, and that might create space behind that Union can exploit. That'll be an interesting thing to watch in the game going forward. It's probably worth noting as well that the games that were on yesterday, we've started to put up the tactical analysis and total football analysis now. Cam Megan has already covered the Borussia Dortmund game that we watched yesterday, that we commented on yesterday. That
Brilliant.
post is up on the website now. And Nicholas Hemmer has also done the Borussia Mönchengladbach Eintracht Frankfurt game. So that post is live. All the others will go live tomorrow, with this match following on Tuesday. So every Bundesliga game will have a tactical analysis on the website as well.
Brilliant. Make sure you do head over to the website, check it out, sign up as well for the for what is no doubt industry-leading tactical analysis, and the kind of analysis that you're not going to find anywhere else. So please do head over there and check it out. Now, let's talk a little bit about Bayern. Of course, Hansi Flick took over. He came in initially as Niko Kovac's assistant, or one of his assistants, got given the job after Kovac left, and has done extremely well. What's different about Hansi Flick's Bayern Munich compared to Niko Kovac's?
I think the appointment of Kovac was always a strange one for me. He'd done very well. He'd done well at Eintracht Frankfurt. He built a team there that was competitive in the Bundesliga. But he'd done so playing a style of football that isn't really conducive to what you expect from Bayern Munich. At Bayern Munich, the expectation from fans and from the board alike is to win every single game. But not just that, they want to win every game, but they want to win it well. They want to play a certain style of football. And that really wasn't evident under Kovacs. I think the players were starting to turn a little bit. He lost some of the dressing room. And of course, Bayern are famous for having a lot of very, very strong personalities in that squad. They've got players who aren't shy about coming forward when they're not happy about what's happening, the product on the pitch and the product on the field. They will come forward and make things clear that they're not happy. So the decision to employ Hansi Flick, originally it was on a caretaker basis, but I think that his performance, both in terms of how he managed the squad and how the squad performed on the pitch, I think that was enough to convince the Bayern board that this might be the choice that they had to going forward in terms of a permanent contract. There's no secret that Bayern have been really keen on Julian Nagelsmann, who obviously is the RB Leipzig coach now. They were keen on him previously when Kovac was appointed. Nagelsmann was another name who was in the hat, but I believe that he had already made it clear that he was going to take the RB Leipzig job at the end of that particular season. So it could be that Hansi Flick is going to be in place for another year, maybe 2 years, and then Bayern will circle back and either go for Julian Nagelsmann or they'll turn to their other long-term target, which is of course Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool.
Yeah, I mean, Hansi Flick has been given a contract, hasn't he, till 2023. It's not to say that he's going to serve the full term, but it is a sign of the faith that Bayern Munich have in him and that they believe that he is the right man, at least for now anyway, to take this team forward. Interestingly, it's a long old trip, isn't it, for Bayern to go to Berlin. It's 585 kilometers between Berlin and Munich, for those of you who like your geography. Bit of a geeky fact, but I thought I'd look that up prior to kickoff, so had to use it, had to slip it in there. We're expecting Bayern to have lots and lots of the ball. We're expecting Union to, I guess, play with more of a back five than a back three, as we've already said. Are you expecting it, though, to be, for the most part, one-way traffic? And what do Union need to do to stop the likes of Lewandowski, of Gnabry and Goretzka and co. carving them open? Because we saw yesterday, when the flair players are on song, in Dortmund's case, against a team who don't really have much to offer going the other way, it can be one-way traffic and it can be really, really difficult.
Very, very difficult for Union in this match. The difficulty is that if they push forward too much, they'll leave those spaces behind. We saw what happened yesterday at the beginning of the second half in the Dortmund Schalke match when Schalke came out the blocks firing at the start of the second half and looked to try and get a goal back straight away, but they left space behind and Dortmund very quickly took advantage of that and scored very early in the second half to make it 3-0. That's the same kind of risk that Union face in this match. Expect to see the wing backs will push forward, but perhaps not in quite as high a line as we'll see from Bayern Munich. When Alphonso Davies goes forward, it becomes a front five effectively with the movements of Goretzka, who will push forward to support Lewandowski centrally. You'll see Gnabry come into the half space. Alphonso Davies will push forward on the left, and that's when the spaces start to occur. Because those movements from players like Gnabry, from Thomas Muller, from Goretzka are key because they occupy defenders in the defensive block of Union. As soon as those defenders are pulled out of their slots, that creates space that Bayern can exploit. And there are very few teams in European football who are more dominant when it comes to exploiting those spaces and those passing channels, those areas than Bayern Munich. They're one of the very top teams at doing so.
Absolutely, and it's a really interesting title race, and I know the Bundesliga is the only European league that's underway at the moment, but it's a great time to join it, isn't it? We've essentially got a four-way title race. RB Leipzig lost some ground yesterday, adds some importance onto this one for Bayern, but the title race is well and truly alive, and it's one that people should be tuning into and be looking at with much interest.
Absolutely. I mean, the Bundesliga is one of the most interesting leagues in Europe anyway, just from a tactical perspective. There's that many different styles and different concepts that you'll see within the games as you watch them, but they also promote young players and give young players playing time. It's always great to see young players coming through the system at these clubs at a given time on the pitch and that can really be effective for their teams. In terms of the title race, I think that normally by this point Bayern Munich have pretty much sewn things up. That tends to be the story for the Bundesliga. Other teams, Borussia Dortmund obviously have challenged periodically over the last 5, 6, 7 years. And this season it's looking like there will be more of a challenge, but that's more down to Bayern being so poor in the first half under Kovac.
We're just about ready for kickoff. in Berlin. Union Berlin versus Bayern Munich, coming to you live via the Hot Mic app for total football analysis. I'm delighted to be joined once again by Lee Scott as we will take you through the entire 90 minutes. Don't forget, if you're watching us on YouTube, head over to the app using the promo code TFA2020 and you can sync our coverage with your television set. We're underway. Bayern in all white, shooting from right to left as you look at your screens, and Union Berlin in all red. Bayern in possession across the back four at the moment. David Alaba is a very interesting player as well, isn't he, Lee? Because he's somebody who broke through initially as a left back and has made that adaptation into centre back, and his ability on the ball has been a real asset to Bayern, hasn't it?
Absolutely. He's a left back for a long time under Bayern Munich, and then obviously when Pep Guardiola was the Bayern coach, he became that inverted left back and played more towards the centre.
Here come Bayern on the attack as Gnabry looks to find some space after Robert Lewandowski found him there, but flag's gone up. Alaba and Boateng. It looks like they're going to have a physical match with Anthony Uja up there today.
Yes, absolutely. That's Uja's game. He's very powerful but quick as well, so he can run at those spaces in behind. And just to touch back on David Alaba, he's actually an interesting character because he plays in the centre midfield for Austria for the national team. So he's extremely versatile, capable of playing in many different positions. And again, we touched upon it yesterday in our commentary, but having players like that in your squad as part of your squad building strategy really is important in modern day football because they give you more options.
Jerome Boateng with a long searching ball forward, but into the hands of Gikiewicz in the Union Berlin goal. He'll take that with ease.
Gikiewicz is actually out of contract in a few weeks' time. I'm not sure what the German FA have decided to do regarding contracts for the German players, but he's a player who turned down a new contract offer from Union and has been very effective with the way that he started attacks for his team this season.
It's such an interesting time, isn't it, in regards to that, because these are such unprecedented times, and it's a situation that nobody ever thought they'd find themselves in. But we do have a lot of players whose contracts will be coming to an end, possibly prior to the season being resolved. Here come Bayern on the attack. It's a speculative effort. Looked like it took a deflection there from Robert Lewandowski. We'll just wait for the replay. The players are moving towards the penalty area as if a corner has been given. Yep, it did. Definitely took a deflection and looped over Giekewicz's goal. Delivery comes in headed clear at the near post. Back out towards that right-hand side for Bayern, and they have themselves a throw-in.
The game's just settling down a little bit now. We're starting to see a familiar pattern that we'll have with the Bayern defenders being able to push right forward in possession and pushing Union back further and further. It's just whether they can find that pass that'll stretch the Union defence and create space for the forwards to move into.
And it feels like Union are going to be doing a lot of defending today, and you can understand why the goalkeeper, just 2 minutes in, is already taking his time every time he has the ball in his hands. And they need to take the sting out of Bayern, don't they?
Absolutely. Anything to frustrate Bayern at this point is going to be key for Union. The last thing they want is to concede early, which we've already seen from a few games this weekend. Early goals change the game state and change the way that the game progresses very, very much.
Early signs are that Robert Lewandowski is tending to pull out towards that right-hand side when the Bayern midfield received the ball. We saw Thiago get on it there, look for a long searching pass. Is that something that he does on a regular basis?
Right or left, it really depends. He'll already be looking to exploit spaces in the defensive line. We talked about the fact yesterday with Erling Haaland and his ability to get in between centre halves. The same thing will be true of Lewandowski. You'll see him as soon as the midfield gets the ball, he'll start to make movements away from defenders, and he's trying to take the attention of two defenders at the same time, so that creates running opportunities from the likes of Goretzka and Müller from midfield.
Is he the best centre forward in world football for you currently?
Absolutely. I don't think it's even close at the moment. I know there's a lot of hype around Erling Haaland, and I think that as he progresses, chance there.
Union with the first opportunity of the game, first effort on target, but it wasn't troubling Manuel Neuer there. That was Marius Buelta, with the effort after the cross came in. But yeah, going back to Lewandowski, he is head and shoulders above pretty much anybody else.
I think so. Even at 31, his physical conditioning is out of this world. Very famous for the way that he looks after himself and takes his career very seriously. So there's no reason that he's not got another 3 or 4 seasons left in him at the top level, and that will be a lot more goals for Bayern Munich, I'm sure.
Here's Neuer in possession, playing in that sweeper keeper role as he does so often. Here's Alaba, plays it out to the left-hand side towards Alphonso Davies. Here come Bayern once more. Here's Gnabry playing it out to that right-hand side. Bayern have got a man over here. Can they get a delivery into the box? Cross comes in towards Robert Lewandowski. Gets a touch on it. Will it break for him? No, it won't. Flag's gone up, it appears. Referee's whistled for something. Looks like the ball struck off the arm, perhaps.
I think it might be in a high foot from Lewandowski.
Seeing a replay of that Union Berlin opportunity once more. Good work down that right-hand side. The cross came in and Marius Buelta with the effort. Nothing really troubling Manuel Neuer, but it's a sign, isn't it, that Union can get in behind.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, they'll take heart from that and nothing else once they get these combinations. They are extremely effective when the ball goes up and they're able to hold the ball up. They'll look to flick it on and win second ball and get possession from there. And that's where they can trouble Bayern.
Here come the home side once again down this right-hand side with Ingvartsen. He's given it away. Serge Gnabry in possession, plays it inside to Thiago, looks up. Ball forward is cut out and Union can come again. There's always that danger, isn't it, that whilst we want to see them take the game to Bayern and we want to see them make something of this match, that there is that risk that they could get carried away. It's a great ball over the top though, and Uja is in space and he fires towards goal.
That's a little movement from Uja, just from one centre back to the other and just moving in behind Alaba. If Alaba does have a weakness in his game, it is still when defending those balls over the top. He's obviously used to playing at left back for the majority of his career, and it's very different when you move into the centre. The different movements from players, the different angles that you have to get used to.
Indeed. Here come Bayern on the attack once more. Serge Gnabry's on that left-hand side. He'll receive the ball, look to drive inwards. Will pick up the loose ball possibly, but it's cleared away. Union survive again. Serge Gnabry is a player that, as an Arsenal fan, when I look back, I can't help but feel that Arsene Wenger and the club made a huge mistake letting him leave.
Yes, I think so. I think that there was never any doubt about the quality of his physical profile. He was always extremely quick and powerful in his running movements, but nobody really saw the technical ability and the finishing ability until the last 2 or 3 seasons when he's just exploded into life. But now he's one of the most important attacking players in this Bayern team, and he's an important player for the German national team as well. So certainly that is a player who would have saved Arsenal a lot of money going forward.
11 goals and 9 assists in the Bundesliga so far this season. It's a pretty remarkable record.
And we'll see him from the left-hand side come inside as often as he can. He'll look to attack into the half space. He'll look to attack in the penalty area as we saw there. And that's when he opens up spaces outside for Davies to move on.
Here's Benjamin Pavard coming forward for Bayern. Opportunity to get the ball into the penalty area once more. He stood up towards the edge of the 6-yard box, but Union Berlin managed to get it under control and eventually get it clear.
The game's just settling down now. We're kind of getting to the point now where we're going to start seeing the patterns of the game come out a little bit more. It just takes time for the players to settle down and find the rhythm of their passing and the rhythm of their movements.
It does, and given that they've not played a competitive fixture since early March, it has that kind of pre-season feel about the early stages, and that it was the case yesterday as well, wasn't it?
It was, and it's not until they start to settle down. For Dortmund, obviously, they got a relatively early goal and that settled them down. It could be the Bayern will need the same thing until the rustiness starts to be shaken off a little bit. But at the moment, passes are going a little bit astray. Runs aren't quite as sharp as they would be normally. So it'll be interesting to see how it all comes out.
Here's Manuel Neuer in possession.
You can already see that Union aren't interested in pressing high. They're happy to let the Bayern defenders have possession to an extent. Even here, there's not a great deal of aggression in that pressing movement, but it's now that Bayern are impressive. Look at that movement from Davies to open up and attack down the left-hand side.
Good defending.
And normally he's quicker than that. Yes, it was.
He really showed
Davies has been
Go ahead, mate. Sorry.
Davies has been a revelation. He was signed as an attacking midfielder, as a winger, and all of a sudden he's been converted into this rampaging left back. Very similar to when Gareth Bale made the breakthrough at left back for Tottenham Hotspur. The same kind of player with that power and pace down the outside in the attacking phase.
Just seeing that challenge on Davis again. It was clean, but it looks like Davis caught the Union Berlin man there with a trailing foot. Not intentional, it has to be said. Here is David Alaba stepping into the centre circle, looking to play their way out of the defence by Munich, as they always do. You can see a very clear shape from Union Berlin. 3 centre-backs, 2 wing-backs, and that midfield pair sitting just in front of them.
Very well coached and very well drilled. They'll be compact, and that's what makes it difficult for Bayern to break through them. In the first meeting between the sides, Bayern won 2-1 when they were at home. And that was a game that was very difficult. Union actually missed a penalty in that match, and it could have been 2-2. So they know that they'll have a tough battle on their hands in this match. Very physical.
Here they come, the home side. Opportunity to get the ball across the penalty area. Ingvartsen there, his cross was blocked. They'll come again, though. Bayern just getting back into shape and forcing Union all the way back into their own half. And the ball eventually ends up with Gikiewicz in the Union Berlin goal. Long diagonal ball forward in search of the Union Berlin man, but not going to get there.
It's an excellent pass from the goalkeeper there. And that's what he gives you. His distribution is very good, both short and long. He's got that angle there, and he picks the player out.
Vartson making the move. Here is David Alaba. Thiago plays it all the way back to Manuel Neuer, who take a touch.
They're just trying to pull Union out towards them now. That's what the back pass was for from Thiago, just to create a little bit more space that they can move into going forward.
And have themselves a free kick here, and it's the first yellow card of the game, and it's been showed to Christopher Lenz. Just awaiting the replay. It felt like the right decision at first viewing. Maybe not as much contact as made out there by the Bayern man, but it certainly was a foul.
Just a matter of timing. Again, players are a little bit slower and a little bit less sharp getting off the mark. Perhaps he thought he could get there, and perhaps he could have 3 months ago, but not now, not at the start of this game.
After rolling around on the floor multiple times, Benjamin Pavard is back up and playing again, so it couldn't have been that bad. Here come Union Berlin, looking to play a ball in behind that Bayern Munich defence. Manuel Neuer will gather with ease, get them off once more.
Bayern are starting to use that mechanism now on the left. You've seen Gnabry come inside and come back towards the ball. That's trying to pull the Union defence out towards him, and then Davies is going long to try and attack the space on the left. Eventually they will find a pass, and that will create danger.
Here come Bayern on the attack. Men over, chasing the loose ball. They've won a corner. Thomas Müller is appealing for one anyway. Has it been given?
It certainly looked like one. Those combinations are what Union really have to defend against, but it becomes difficult. All the different movements that you see in the front third, in the final third from Bayern, that Union defence has to be switched on and know exactly where they're defending and where their zones are and where their players are at all times, or they're going to find themselves creating space and allowing Bayern to attack.
Free kick was given in the end. I think Thomas Müller was a little bit late on the Union defender Florian Hübner there. Union are not afraid to get stuck in physically either, are they? And I guess that's why you made the comparison with Burnley.
Yeah, to an extent it is. I think that when you compare their resources relative to other teams in the Bundesliga, though, you completely understand they've got to find their edge wherever they can, and that is one. They're very physical, but they do so from an organised standpoint. They don't rush out of position in the defensive third and try to challenge where they shouldn't. They're just very strong when players move in their zones.
Here's Jerome Boateng. Now David Alaba. It's Thiago with a lovely ball into the channel. Alphonso Davies has got forward here. 1-on-1 with the Union Berlin defender. Plays it inside. Gnabry takes a touch. Looks to fashion the opportunity to fire goalwards and wins a throw-in for Bayern Munich.
And that's the mechanism we've been talking about. When Gnabry comes inside, it opens up the space that Davies can attack. And that's the pass that Thiago and David Alaba will find all game long. So Union are going to have to find a way to make sure that they're dealing with that rotation and denying the space for Davies.
Here is Alaba once more. Bayern Munich with 65% of the possession so far. What we expected though. Here's Alphonso Davies. Now Thiago. The Boateng stepped into that midfield just momentarily. Pavard wins a throw in for his team. Here's David Alaba once more. He gets on the ball an awful lot, doesn't he, for this Bayern side?
He does, and that's one of the main things that we're seeing in football at the moment. We're seeing defenders, central defenders in particular, get more space and time and possession. So it's becoming more important that you have centre halves that can use the ball effectively because they can add so much to your attacking game, as opposed to originally 10 years ago it was fullbacks we were talking about in that sense. But now fullbacks are well known as being attacking weapons. Now it's central defenders.
The Union Berlin man just shepherding that ball out of play and preventing Pavard from getting onto the end of it. Once again, we're seeing pictures of substitutes socially distancing. It's really, really strange. But again, as we keep on saying, it's completely necessary. I know we won't know until the next round of testing, but it feels like the Bundesliga have dealt with this really, really well so far.
Certainly, that's the impression that we're getting. Everything seems to have came off so far, but like you say, the next round of testing is key. And I think after that, we'll start to see other leagues start to ramp up their negotiations to get football restarted as well.
Absolutely. Here's Thiago Alcantara, plays the ball out to the right-hand side. Benjamin Pavard in a bit of space. Lovely, brilliant bit of skill there from Thomas Müller. He's pulled out to this right-hand side. His cross is blocked. As a result, Bayern have a corner. Thinks about taking it quickly. Decides against it. It's going to be Josh Kimmich to deliver it right-footed. An out-swinging corner for Union Berlin to defend 17 minutes in. Cross comes into the penalty area. It's met by a Bayern head. And there it's been turned in. Has the flag gone up? Bayern are celebrating. Offside. Thomas Müller's reaction tells you all you need to know about that. They're celebrating at the moment, but I guess it's going to go to a VAR check and we're going to see. On the initial header,
this ball here.
Gnabry wasn't offside, but is Müller offside there when the ball is headed across the goal? He looks it at first glance, but of course VAR will take a look.
The interesting thing is what would have happened if Müller hadn't touched the ball. The goal's been given?
It's been given on the scoreboard, but we're still waiting for the referee to...
This is why VAR is so contentious.
I mean, surely you don't give the goal until you check it, rather than give it and then take it away, which is what the broadcasters are doing here.
Was the ball going to go in before Müller touched it?
It's difficult to say, isn't it, from that angle?
Yeah, but you'll see the way the ball hits the ground next, and then is it going to bounce? I think it was going in.
Possibly.
I'm fairly sure that was going to be a goal. But then again, it's instinct for a player like Thomas Müller in that position to try and get your toe on the ball. Very difficult to pull back and not do so.
Absolutely. Still awaiting the outcome of the check. Seems to be taking an awful long time. We're just seeing it again. The first header is down towards Serge Gnabry, and then he headers it to Thomas Müller. You know, watching it from that angle, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, potentially in the same line, which would be onside, I believe. It's just waiting to be confirmed now, I think.
No goal. The decision is no goal. We haven't seen the lines drawn by the VAR, so we're not really in a position to argue. But it's Union Berlin 0, Bayern Munich 0. I don't know why the scoreboard still says, oh no, there you go, they've changed it now. They fixed it now. And again, it comes back to that point. Why change it before the decision has been made?
Yeah.
There we go. That's a debate for another day. It let off for Union Berlin there.
As I say, I'm fairly sure if Thomas Müller hadn't touched that, that was going to be a goal. The ball would have gone in from that header. I'm quite confident.
Urs Fischer, the Union Berlin boss, who is watching from afar today, as we discussed in the build-up. He visited his family after the sad death of his father-in-law and therefore is unable to attend this game due to breaking the lockdown rules. He'll be watching on with a bit of relief there after that one was chalked off.
Certainly will be. You're starting to see now a little bit Bayern are starting to harass the ball now. Look at them as they press. See, the first press goes, so the front players press forward, but then the midfielders man mark the Union midfielders, and that makes it difficult for the Union goalkeeper or defender to bypass the press. They're trying to get them to play longer balls that are perhaps more rushed and less accurate, so that they can try to win possession back quickly. But Bayern are masters at this. That's how they set up their trap and their press, and they'll look to win the ball back.
Here come Bayern on the attack once again. It's headed clear only as far as Alphonso Davies. All back in towards Gnabry. Bayern regain possession. Here's Thiago. Now Jerome Boateng. Plays it out towards that right-hand side. The pass wasn't quite as accurate as he'd have liked, but the Bayern man managed to get a foot to it and win a free kick. As a result, it was Thomas Müller. He's been in the wars a little bit early on here.
I think Thomas Muller's always in the wars. It's kind of the way he plays. He's so unorthodox. When he takes a touch, his limbs tend to be all over the place. So quite often he initiates contact with defenders like that.
And Christopher Lenz has got to be careful because he is on a yellow card as well.
Yeah, which is dangerous against a player like Muller, who does have that ability just to shift the ball quickly. Any challenges have to be timed extremely well.
Absolutely, and he didn't time it particularly well there. You suspect that he won't be allowed too many more of those before we see a second yellow card come out. Here come Bayern once more. Every single Union Berlin player, including Anthony Ujah, is behind the ball at the minute. They look to curve this wave of Bayern Munich attack. Been a common theme, and we expect it to be a common theme throughout this fixture. Balls all the way back with Neuer. They've been forced back. Don't forget, if you're watching us via YouTube, head over to the Hot Mic app using the promo code TFA2020 and you can sync our coverage with your television. Here's Alphonso Davies in behind here. Ball low across the penalty area. The goalkeeper managed to get a hand to it, and there was a couple of Bayern players following in there. It's another let-off for Union Berlin. Thomas Müller there with his head in his hands. He knows what a good opportunity that was. Great work once more from Davies on that left-hand side.
Yeah, that's the pattern we've been talking about. That's what we expect from Bayern. That's how they're trying to get in behind. And the pass backwards to Müller, to Manuel Neuer that we saw when Neuer was in the middle of his own half, that again is designed to try and pull Union out towards them a little bit so that they can attack that space in behind. It looks like they're giving up and they're resetting possession, but it's all meant and it's all deliberate. Here
come Bayern once more. Lovely bit of interchanging play between Lewandowski and his teammate there, but the ball was cleared out for a Bayern throw. Just seeing Alphonso Davies' low delivery once again. The keeper gets such an important hand to it and prevents it falling to Müller there. As I was saying, if you're watching us via the YouTube channel, do head over to the mic, to the Hot Mic app, my apologies, and you can download it using the promo code TFA2020 and sync our commentary with your television pictures.
I think Union will be quite happy at this stage. 22 minutes gone, almost 23 minutes, and it's still 0-0, that disallowed goal notwithstanding. But Bayern are starting to show now that they're trying to find and starting to find patterns of play that will get them in behind the Union defensive block, and that's where the danger comes. Union now have to keep concentrating, have to maintain their defensive shape, and have to understand that they can't attack in too many numbers or Bayern are going to pick them off.
They're mounting an attack of their own here, but they've been dispossessed.
And here's the danger in transition.
Absolutely. Here's Serge Gnabry on this left-hand side. Right-footed, of course, but does enjoy operating from that left-hand side. Kimmich there with the elaborate attempt to find his teammate, but it's rolled all the way back to the Union Berlin goalkeeper, who will again give his team the opportunity to have a quick breather.
Joshua Kimmich's another player like David Alaba who's had a positional change. Of course, he played as right back for a long time for Bayern Munich in the German national side, and now he's made that switch into centre midfield, which is the position that he said a good few seasons ago now that he was his preferred position and where he felt most comfortable and where he can really affect play from. So it's interesting again that along with Alaba, they've got another player there in Kimmich who can move around at different zones and different positional slots as needed for this Bayern squad.
Lee, how can people follow you on Twitter as well? Is it FM Analysis?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at FM Analysis, but most of the content that we write now goes out in Total Football Analysis. So make sure you're following Total Football Analysis on Twitter. Make sure you're checking the website out. There's content every day, different types of analysis. We have podcasts, we have videos on the YouTube channel. So there's all kinds of way now to consume our content and make sure you're up to date with what's happening tactically in football.
Brilliant stuff. Please do that. Union Berlin have a free kick now in a very dangerous position. It's an opportunity for them to get the ball into the penalty area. We were talking earlier on, weren't we, about Christopher Trimmel's ability to deliver effectively. He's got a chance to do that, the first chance really of this game. 25 minutes in, can Union Berlin spring a surprise on Hansi Flick's Bayern Munich? 25 minutes played. Manuel Neuer just lining up his wall there. Going to be delivered right-footed. Bayern holding a line right on the edge of their penalty area. Ball comes into the penalty area. It's met. Was it met by Union Berlin head there? It's gone out for a corner.
It's that flat delivery that we talked about before the game. He's got great technique when he strikes the ball. There's not a high trajectory on the ball. Instead, it comes in almost at head height, but at pace. And with players attacking the ball from deep, as you see now, expect this ball to go on the 6-yard line, and then you'll see the centre halves, especially for Union, start to attack it and converge on the ball.
In particular, Neven Subotic, former Borussia Dortmund and a Serbia international, 31 years old now, currently playing his football at Union Berlin. Bayern just trying to press them, force them back, but they've held a high line there, Bayern, and Union are looking to expose that, but they've had no joy so far. Ball's gone out for a Bayern throw-in, almost in line with Union Berlin's penalty area. Here is Jerome Boateng. Out to that right-hand side. Pass is intercepted.
That's more than once now. Boateng's pass out to that right back, out to Pavard or out to Muller hasn't been crisp enough, and he's allowing players to come in and challenge for the ball. He needs to put a little bit more velocity on that pass, or to curve it a little bit more to get around to the man and be able to keep building the attack instead of stopping things.
He's been a man who's been heavily linked with a move away from Bayern as well, hasn't he? And I know he's been linked in particular with a move to the Premier League and Arsenal. Can you see him staying at Bayern Munich beyond this season?
I think that, to be brutally honest, Bayern Munich would be quite happy to see him move to the Premier League at this point. Nicolas Süle is the regular partner for David Alaba at the centre of defence.
Brilliant piece of play there. Apologies, Lee. As Bayern enter the penalty area, cuts it back across the penalty area and it's hooked away. Sorry to cut you there. Go ahead, Lee.
It's okay. I would be surprised to see him leave and see him move on from Bayern, but buyer beware, because he's not the player that he was when Germany won the World Cup, when he was one of the dominant centre-halves in world football. His distribution isn't quite as good, his physical capacity isn't quite as good, so people need to be aware when they're getting excited about the club potentially signing Jerome Boateng.
There's a warning to all of you guys out there thinking Jerome Boateng would be a good asset to your club. I mean, that's not to say he's a bad player or that he can't do a job somewhere.
Absolutely not. Of course, it's just Bayern Munich at the moment are performing at such a high level. If any player starts to drop off their form and drop off their game, it becomes really noticeable.
And we can expect he would demand one hell of a wage packet as well, given what he's probably on at Bayern.
He certainly would.
And Bayern once more. Here's Pavard on this right-hand side. Pretty common, isn't it, to see Thomas Muller pull out to that right-hand side and Goretzka move inside?
Muller moves almost wherever he likes on the pitch. He's quite famous now as that round outer or space invader in English, and the ability he has to not play in any orthodox positional slots. He just moves around and tries to find pockets of space. Again, similar to what we saw from Julian Brandt yesterday, he's looking for that pass that he can receive between the lines, and as soon as he does so, he's a threat. His pure unorthodoxy makes him look quite ungainly at times, but he's extremely effective, and he's one of the better forward players in European football this season, in particular over the last few months before the lockdown. He was one of the best attacking players in European football again.
We often talk about the goals that Muller contributes, but it's been a story of assists this season, hasn't it? 16 assists. We're just seeing that replay of the offside decision once more. It's so tight, doesn't it? So tight.
extremely tight. Yeah, Mueller is very good at assisting, laying off for other people, and he has that ability as well to pull defensive players towards him, which creates space for his teammates in the attack. It's the concept of gravity in the NBA. It's similar in football. So if you get players who are well known for their ability around the penalty area, then the opposition tend to pay more attention to them, and that invariably creates space for other people to use.
Absolutely. And we just got a couple of comments coming through from those of you looking to sync it with your television sets. If you're having trouble, we are on the 30th minute and 9 seconds. There you go. Sync it with the time. There is a way, of course, of doing it manually. If you have a TiVo box or a Sky box and you're able to pause your TV or rewind, you can do that to synchronize the stream. Union Berlin earn themselves a free kick. Thiago Alcantara, the former Barcelona man, penalised there. Looked like a bit of obstruction there. He almost sat on the ball to prevent the Union man getting hold of it. And Union would have absolutely loved this day, wouldn't they, had they been able to have their crowd in this stadium, a crowd that have, gained sort of notoriety across Europe this season. This would have been a real big day for them, wouldn't it?
It would have been. I think that at the moment, any home game in the Bundesliga is still huge for Union. They spent that long out of the top division. I think that any time that they're able to play a team like Bayern Munich, it's a big occasion for fans. But the fans watching at home will be hopeful that Union will manage to avoid relegation, and that next season fans will be back in the ground and football will be back to what we usually see, and then they'll be able to help their team and spur their team on again.
Absolutely. The Stadion an der Alten Forstier is called, and that translates to the stadium at the Old Forester's house. There you go. There's another geeky fact for you guys. There you go. As Union look to put some pressure on this Bayern Munich defence, who have been relatively unchallenged so far. Miscued clearance there, but luckily it falls to Benjamin Pavard, who was covering that right-hand side. Lovely bit of skill, lovely twist and turn there from Kimmich.
Kimmich's so comfortable in possession there. Even under pressure, you saw his ability to receive the ball and to manipulate it in space. That's something known as press resistance when we talk about the analysis of football. And it's something that's extremely important for defenders to be and midfielders to be able to receive the ball in tight areas and hold off press from the opposition and then move the ball on.
Bayern perhaps haven't created as many opportunities as we thought they might have by this point in the game. But of course, it is early. We can see them changing the ball there. It's one of those games, isn't it, where they've got to remain patient, not get frustrated, not change what they're doing too much. Because Union will tire, particularly given the situation that we find ourselves in, the fact that players haven't played in such a long time. It is worth noting that you're allowed 5 substitutions now until the end of the season in order to cope with any conditioning issues. Here come the home side now. It's a ball delivered towards that far post. Manuel Neuer will come out and gather.
I think that the conditioning is a problem, but it won't just be physical for Union if this keeps up. It's the mental concentration and mental fatigue that they'll really have to be careful of. The defensive line has to remain compact. They have to remain in sync with their defensive colleagues to stop Bayern from breaking through. But Bayern will be patient. They're used to this kind of situation. They're used to teams playing with a deeper defensive block against them, so they will take their time. And I think in the second half, we'll see them start to ramp up the pressure.
You're seeing Anthony Ujah down there after Manuel Neuer almost fell into him when claiming that ball. And you're absolutely right. People often criticise teams for putting in defensive performances, but ultimately it is not just about the conditioning, it's about that mental aspect, and that often is what sees these teams undone in the end. It's that inability to maintain those levels of concentration for 90 minutes, and it's no mean feat, is it?
No, absolutely not. It's very difficult. When you think about the concentration that the players, the right sided centre half, the right back at the moment for Union Berlin, extremely experienced players, but at the moment they've got the movement of Gnabry and the movement of Davies and then Thiago moving on to them from deeper positions. They've got those 3 players working almost in a triangular motion, and those movements are going to pull people out of position and create space. That's what Bayern continue to do, and being able to concentrate and know where you're supposed to be at all times. It's a difficult task. Union are very well drilled and very well coached, and we're seeing that we're seeing their ability to maintain their defensive block and maintain their composure. It'll just be difficult for them going forward, especially when Bayern start to move the ball a little bit quicker.
Indeed. They're all camped behind the ball once again, Union, as Bayern look to find a way through this stubborn defence. Of course, Union currently 11th in the Bundesliga. They've won 9 of their 25 fixtures this season, drawn 3, lost 13. But their goal difference is something of a concern, -9. They've only scored 32 goals in the league this season, which is an average of 1.28 per game. And that is where that has been a problem, hasn't it? And, you know, it's so important for teams who are new to the top flight to have a goal scorer and someone that they can rely on. And I'm not sure that Union Berlin have that.
They have Anderson on the bench as their top scorer. He's been the most effective forward that they've had. Anthony Ujah has never really been a striker who threatens with a large amount of goals. He works hard, he's industrious, and he creates problems for the defences, but he's never been somebody who's been all that prolific. I think that Union's lack of goals is down to the way they play. They play that direct kind of style and look to play in moments of the game in the final third, rather than controlling the game through possession. And that's their game model, that's their game style. And you can't really complain about it. You can't criticise it given the way that they've performed so far this season. They have done very well this season, having just been promoted at the end of last season from the second Bundesliga.
We've just seen the first yellow card for a Bayern Munich man as well, Alphonso Davies, there for a rather rash challenge. It's his first booking of the season, actually.
That's a surprise. He normally moves that quick that it can be hard for him to control himself in challenges. But it's surprising that's his first booking.
We have a booking on either side at the moment. The Union Berlin player down here looks to be in real discomfort. The physios have come onto the field. Having put in such a solid defensive performance so far, they won't want to lose anyone now, will they?
No, certainly not. That's the danger. Once you start moving players in and out in terms of substituting them for tactical reasons or for conditioning reasons, that's when the concentration really becomes an issue, because those players have to get used to the pace of the game and they have to be able to get up to speed very quickly to understand what their role is. The moment Hansi Flick won't be panicking. He understands that the game is going to be played in this style. That Union are a danger on the break. They were very direct, powerful, quick when they attack quickly. But defensively, they will remain compact and they will be resolute and difficult to break down. It just means that when Bayern do get those chances, those half chances, they need to be clinical in front of goal in order to be able to take advantage. And that comes down to where they're taking their shots from. They really need to make sure that they're taking shots from good areas around the penalty area as opposed to snatching at chances from range.
Absolutely, as Bayern look to work their way out of the defence. Union Berlin with a high press. They're trying to keep Bayern locked into that first third of the pitch from their perspective. Here is Alphonso Davies, fresh after receiving a yellow card. To switch the play, it's Benjamin Pavard in possession now into the feet of Muller, who lays it back to Boateng in the Bayern defence. Alaba will take it on his left foot, puts his foot on the ball, looks up, lays it off to Kimmich. All out to that right hand side as Bayern look to get in behind here. It's Robert Lewandowski who's pulled out from the middle onto that right hand side. The referee's blown the whistle and it looks as though he's pointed to the spot.
That's Neves. So Subotic just trying to clear the ball, and that's how effective Muller is. He came from nowhere to get around and try and get a touch on the ball, and obviously he's in position there. Subotic tried to clear the ball. He's obviously made contact with the Bayern striker. There you go. You can see clearly there.
It is. I think it's Goretzka though. It's Goretzka who's been fouled there. Neven Subotic rash there, not aware of what was going on around him. But as you said, when the movement is so good, it is difficult, isn't it? Particularly when you're focused on clearing the ball. That is a defender's instinct. And then for someone with such great movement like Goretzka to pop up, it becomes very, very difficult. Robert Lewandowski places the ball down on the penalty spot. It's a chance for Bayern Munich to take the lead just 6 minutes before the break. They've been frustrated up until now and they haven't created a great deal. Robert Lewandowski steps up and Robert Lewandowski scores and Bayern have broken the deadlock here. The Polish striker with his 26th goal in 24 Bundesliga appearances this season. It's a remarkable record and it's going to continue. Prior to this game, he'd participated in 38% of Bayern Munich's goals in the Bundesliga this season, and he's got another one.
That little hesitation just before he struck the ball, it was enough just to freeze the goalkeeper in place, and then he just rolled the ball. You saw the movement from the goalkeeper first towards the goalkeeper's right, and then Lewandowski was able just to roll the ball the opposite way. That's a sign of a very calm, very confident penalty taker. Taking penalties isn't an easy task. We've seen so many missed over the years, and so many good players who find it difficult to convert penalties, and it's that ability to remain calm right until the moment you strike the ball that's so key.
And it was by no means in the corner either. And I'm sure when the keeper watches that back, he'll be disappointed in the way that that's gone in. But like you said, it's that little dummy, that little hesitation that threw the keeper off there. And as a result, Bayern have taken the lead finally here.
And that completely changes the game state. Now, with Bayern 1 goal up, Union need to find a response of some kind. Whether we're going to see them start to press out a little bit more, whether we're going to see them start to take a few more risks, that's the question. And if that happens, we've already seen how dangerous Bayern are when they break through into those spaces.
Absolutely. Bayern coming forward once again, looking for a second before the break. Union defending well. The ball's played back to the goalkeeper, Giekowitz, who clears it long and out for a Bayern throw-in. Round about the halfway line on this near side. They'll be so disappointed, won't they, that they couldn't get in at half-time on level terms.
They will, and that's we talked about the importance to keep your mental state clear. You need to be concentrating at all times on the pitch when you're playing against Bayern. And Subotic just switched off for a second. He thought he had time to clear the ball. Goretzka came from his blind side and managed to get his body between ball and defenders. Subotic tried to make the clearance. That's something that Subotic will have done hundreds of times in training and matches, and then this one occasion, obviously, he makes contact and gives a penalty away.
On such fine margins, our goals given. Here come Bayern again, looking for another one. It's a ball into the penalty area. It's gathered by the goalkeeper with ease.
We're starting to see Bayern combine a little bit more in the final third now. You're starting to see movements from inside to out and outside to in. Those movements are designed to pull defenders out of slots. That's what we've been talking about for the whole match. The whole game against a deep block is trying to find spaces that they can create in this Union defensive block. And as soon as they start to do so more often, we'll start to see more clinical movements, I'm sure.
Absolutely, as Union come forward in search of an equaliser now. 42 minutes played here. Don't forget, if you're watching us via the Hot Mic app, you can share the broadcast with your friends and family. The more the merrier, and we can enjoy this game all together. Here come Bayern once again. Opportunity inside the penalty area here. Steps inside and he's won a corner for his team there, Thomas Müller. Goretzka, my apologies.
They have a similar running style. I think that's why it's sometimes quite difficult to pick out which it is. But normally you'd see Goretzka be more clinical in that situation. When he cut back and stopped the play and slowed it down, that's what allowed Union to get back and close out the game and get the ball out.
Corners played low and in towards that near post. It's gone back out to this right-hand side. Kimmich looking for the opportunity to deliver it, but the offside flag has gone up, meaning Union have a free kick. As I was saying, don't forget you can use the share feature on the Hot Mic app. Get as many people involved as you possibly can as we provide you an alternative soundtrack to your favourite football matches. I'm Harry Symeou alongside Lee Scott with the expert analysis. Bayern in possession once more with Alphonso Davies. It's gone back to Alaba. Lays it off to Manuel Neuer. And you can see when he lays it off, his first movement is not to come in field and plug the space, is it? They trust in each other to maintain possession, and he moves out wide in order to create an angle and pull people away.
Yes, exactly. They all trust Neuer in possession of the ball, and well, they should. Over the years, he's proved himself to be one of the best goalkeepers in world football with the ball at his feet. And perhaps not quite as physically active as he was at one point. He's slowed down a little bit as his career's progressed and his age has caught up a little bit. But still, with the ball at his feet and with his reactions, he's still up there with the top goalkeepers in world football.
34 years old now, Manuel Neuer. 10 clean sheets in the Bundesliga so far this season prior to today's game. Looking to make it 11. And as we said at the top of the broadcast, he's been an ever-present for the Bundesliga leaders this season. Played every minute of every Bundesliga game so far. Robert Lewandowski puts Rafael Gikiewicz in the Union Berlin goal under pressure, and he concedes a throw-in as a result. Opportunity for Bayern maybe to find a second goal before the break. Here's Benjamin Pavard. Here's Boateng.
Look how high up the Bayern centre-halves are now. They're starting to really dominate the space and press Union back more and more. It's only a matter of time before they find another route through to goal.
Delivery into the penalty area, taken on the chest there by Müller. His effort's blocked. Union have a chance to get it clear through Christopher Lenz.
Of course, Bayern are only able to play their centre-halves up that high because they're not that concerned about the pace of Uja and behind them. They're comfortable with that Neuer can sweep behind them, and that Alaba in particular has the pace to cover back in space. So perhaps a change at half-time and in the second half to inject a little bit more pace into this attack for Union would be effective.
We've seen 4 minutes added on here at the end of the first period. Of course, we had that lengthy stoppage in regards to the VAR check when Thomas Müller's goal was ruled out. And we had a couple of injuries as well. Players have been down, a couple of yellow cards too, so it makes perfect sense. Union Berlin putting themselves under a little bit of pressure there, but managed to get the ball back to the keeper in the end. The difference is, though, when it goes back to the keeper, possession, it's not as calculated as what Bayern do, is it? It's often a long ball in search of the forwards, and often they see the ball come straight back.
Yeah, it's a deliberate tactic from Union. They know what they have in terms of the centre halves. They don't have progressive passers. They don't have the David Alabas or last night the Mats Hummels that we saw for Borussia Dortmund with his ability to affect the play with the ball at his feet. So instead, the ball moves more quickly from goalkeeper or from centre half forward, and they're looking for that second ball. They need Uja to be able to get hold of possession and then bring players into the game as they move forward. So far, it's just not been that effective, though. There's nothing wrong with that. We talk about football all the time, and people talk about teams that play the right way, but there is no right way to play football. It's just the game model has to fit the players you have at your disposal. There's no harm in Union playing that way. It's a way that's obviously worked for them so far this season, and it works for Burnley in the English Premier League.
Absolutely, and we've seen Union Berlin win themselves a corner here. Delivery came in from the right-hand side from Christopher Trimmel, and there was Anthony Uja. But his header took a deflection. But you see that physical power, that physical presence. And with Christopher Tremmel's impressive delivery, once again, you just get a glimpse of what Union Berlin can offer in that final third. Captain's going to take the corner. Ball comes into the penalty area. Bayern unable to get it clear so far. Effort towards goal, but it's blocked. Another speculative effort. As Grisha Prömel fires his left boot at the ball. It's high, it's wide, and it's not troubling Manuel Neuer anytime soon, though.
Still positive that they're starting to make those chances and they're starting to create things in the final third. That's what we're going to need to see in the second half. Obviously, that means they're going to have to come out and be a little bit more progressive in terms of how they move the ball up the field and how they move to support the ball as well. And that carries danger in itself.
Absolutely, it does indeed, as Bayern maybe can fashion one more opportunity, perhaps. As we approach the break, less than a minute to go in this first half. Bayern have dominated possession here, but Union Berlin have shown glimpses that they can breach this Bayern Munich defence with a little bit more accuracy, a little bit more zip in their play. You never know, as Alphonso Davies comes bursting forward. Trimmel does really, really well there. But he can't get it clear, and as a result, he's lost possession to Davis once more. Here's Thiago. Looks to play the ball into Lewandowski. Ball goes out to this right-hand side, and it's fired. And it's just wide. Benjamin Pavard with the effort there. Scored a brilliant goal in the last World Cup from similar sort of distance, didn't he?
He did. That's kind of become his trademark, that shot as he cuts across the ball with his right foot. But that goal was made by the persistence of that shot. Came from the persistence of Alphonso Davies on the left-hand side. And again, it's the ease that Bayern are starting to play through the Union defence that is becoming more of a concern.
Absolutely. It's half-time here in Berlin. It's Union Berlin 0, Bayern Munich 1. Robert Lewandowski, the difference from the penalty spot after Leon Goretzka was brought down in the penalty area. Of course, Bayern also had a goal ruled out by the VAR for offside. We think it was the right decision, having seen the replay as tight as it was. But Union are going to be a little bit disappointed that they couldn't hold on till the break. Bayern will be pleased that they found the breakthrough, because in these games, that's so often the most difficult thing to do. It's halftime. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Stay with us. Don't go anywhere. And we'll be taking you through the second half, as well as looking back at what we've just seen in the first 45 minutes. So we'll be back. Go get yourselves a cup of tea, but don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Total Football Analysis, is live coverage of FC Union Berlin versus Bayern Munich. The Bundesliga leaders currently leading by a 0-0 through Robert Lewandowski's penalty. Don't forget, if you're tuned in via the Total Football Analysis YouTube channel, download the Hot Mic app using the promo code TFA2020 and you can sync our commentary with that on your television, and you'll be able to enjoy our broadcast rather than the traditional one. Don't forget to drop us a like on Hot Mic as well if you are already tuned in, and don't forget to use the share feature where you can share the commentary with your friends and family. Anybody who might be interested in industry leading expert analysis from our very own Lee Scott. Lee, talking about what we've seen so far, of course, Bayern have dominated possession. They've not made a great deal in terms of chances. Of course, they had that goal ruled out. But Union, they defended well for the most part, but unfortunately a lapse in concentration from Neven Subotic there, and they're back to, well, they're in a really, really dangerous situation now, a situation where they need to come out and attack Bayern, but they could find themselves caught on the break, and this game could easily run away from them.
Yeah, this is always a danger for teams who play in the way that Union do. We touched in the first half on the fact that this is very much their game model. This is how they play. This is how they set up, and it's a deliberate way that they do things. And there's nothing at all wrong with that. They're a direct attack inside. They look to stretch the ball quickly into the opposition half and look to play off knockdowns from the striker. They're not very good at stretching the space in behind, and that's why Bayern are playing so high. But now that they've gone a goal behind, you start to see the issues with that kind of game model. There needs to be a reaction from Union in terms of pushing up a little bit more, pressing a little higher. And as soon as they do that, they create space that Bayern can exploit. There's no team better, perhaps, other than Manchester City in European football at the moment, at being able to play in those spaces as teams press up. Union can press the ball when Kimmich and when Alaba and when Thiago have possession, but they'll very quickly find the ball being played around the press and behind, where the likes of Goretzka, the likes of Gnabry, the likes of Muller will find those pockets of space. And that's going to be the danger for the second half. It'll be interesting to see whether Union can find a way to break through, but I suspect that we'll see more of the same dominance and control from Bayern Munich.
Absolutely. They'll be looking to stay in the game as long as possible and hoping that one of Christopher Tremel's set pieces can reap the rewards for them. Would you expect them to make any changes at halftime? We've spoken about Anthony Ujah and the fact that he's not as prolific as they'd perhaps like. Do they have options in your opinion? I know you've spoken about one option in particular, but do you expect him to take part?
I would imagine that we'll see Anderson at some point. I'm not sure why he's on the bench completely. It could be condition, it could be a knock. I would imagine we'll see Anderson at some point to play up front, and he is a threat in terms of his ability to bring the ball down and bring others into play. That's kind of what he bases his game around. And then his movement's very good in the penalty area as well. Beyond that, you're not really sure exactly what Union have on the bench to affect the game at this stage. Christian Gentner, the ex-Cologne midfielder, is very good, but he's now 34 years of age, and the game at the moment is bypassing the Union midfield, so whether they would look to make a change in there would be unsure. Bayern Munich, on the other hand, they could turn to other players they have on the bench. They have Kingsley Coman, the French international, on there, as well as Ivan Perisic, the Croatian international. So there's a wealth of attack and talent on the Bayern bench should their players start to tire a little bit. And when we see that pace the likes of Coleman can inject, that could be really dangerous as Union start to tire.
Absolutely. Be interesting to see what steps they take. Of course, as we've mentioned already, Urs Fischer, the 54-year-old coach, he's not at the game. He's not in attendance, but I'm sure he'll be in communication with his staff, having watched that first half. And once more, say it again, they will be frustrated to have conceded in the way they did, given the way they'd managed to defend for such a long period. Just talking about that goal that was ruled out for Bayern Munich from Thomas Müller. We've seen the replay again during the break. It was extremely tight. Are you convinced of VAR's accuracy in those situations? Because there are people who would question how they could possibly make a decision like that and whether or not those lines are as accurate as they need to be.
I think that it's very difficult when you talk about VAR because there are different systems used in different leagues around the world. There's not one clear system with one clear set of tangible rules that we can follow. I'm not the biggest fan of VAR. I don't like the way that it slows the game down. You saw that situation with that disallowed goal. We were left waiting. The score was updated on our screens. We were expecting the goal to be given, and then obviously it was overturned after a minute or two with the referee in consultation with the people in the VAR studio. I think that it is difficult to verify exactly what you're looking at in terms of the accuracy of the pictures that they show, but that is the system that we have at the moment. It would be interesting to know whether the goal would have been given just by the linesman. Again, I'm convinced that if Mueller hadn't touched the ball would have rolled into the goal from the initial header. So something certainly that I'm sure the Bayern coaching staff will look at after the game. But again, it's very difficult for a goal scorer not to stick your foot out when you've got an open goal in that kind of area.
Absolutely. And watching the first half, Thomas Müller has been key, hasn't he, to Bayern? He's been popping up on the right, popping up on the left, and is that kind of movement that makes him so difficult to deal with. I think Leon Goretzka, apart from winning the penalty, has been a little bit quieter. Serge Gnabry's shown flashes, but Müller's been the real key man, in my view. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I mean, when Kovac was the coach of Bayern Munich before they moved him on and took on their new coach, I think that Mueller was really struggling to get into the team at that time. He was struggling to affect games in the tactical system that Kovac preferred. And as soon as Kovac was gone, we saw Mueller with a new lease of life. His ability to get into those pockets of space and in really advanced areas, which is key. You see him pick up the ball around the penalty area, and he always seems to have that little bit of time and that ability as defenders come and try and close him down. He just moves the ball away and manipulates the ball really well in tight areas. He's one of the most effective players in world football, but he's one of the most unorthodox. There's not really a player that you can say is similar to Thomas Muller because he's so unique.
Indeed. Indeed. Be interesting to see how Union Berlin come out in the second half, whether they take the approach of trying to stay in the game for as long as possible, or whether they feel like they need to take the game to Bayern as soon as we kick off again. What are you expecting? And I know it's just a prediction, but how do you see them coming out as soon as the whistle blows?
I think there's a likelihood that we'll see them make a change, whether that means going to a back four and and having more players forward. They could play a 4-5-1, it could be a 4-4-2. There are options at the bench that they can turn to, and that's one way that they'll be able to affect the game and give Bayern different pictures, if you like, to try to defend against. The problem is when you take one of those players in the three-man defensive line out, it creates more space for Robert Lewandowski to operate in, and that's when you've really got to be careful. His ability to move between defenders, we've already touched upon it. He has that ability to move and find pockets of space, not only behind or in front of the defensive line, but in the defensive line itself. You'll see him all the time when Bayern have the ball when they're building up in the midfield. As soon as the nearest defender has his attention turned towards the ball, you'll see Lewandowski make those movements away from him. Just little movements, just a step. That step's enough to create separation. And when you have three defenders, you've got more chance that somebody's paying attention and covering that movement. When there's only two centre halves on the pitch, then it becomes more difficult and Lewandowski becomes even more of a handful. So it'll be interesting to see. We'll get a clear sign of the intent, I think, when we come back to the game, whether there are any changes early. We've seen quite a few halftime changes so far in the Bundesliga as it's resumed. And again, they're allowed 5 substitutions. So it could be tactical, it could be strategic, or it could be a case of fitness and conditioning. We're just not sure until we see what happens. I think Bayern will be happy to keep the same shape and the same system as they are at the moment. They'll be happy with the level of control they've got over this game and the fact they're able to dominate possession. They're now starting to find those through balls, those progressive passes that split the lines with a little bit more effectiveness, especially down the left-hand side. Remember, the left-hand side of the attack is key for Bayern, so expect to see that as a main feature in the second half.
Yep, Bayern have had no trouble scoring goals, have they? When you look at the record, and just while you were speaking there, I was just having a quick glance, and we talk about Müller, we talk about Lewandowski, we talk about Gnabry individually, and as a collective, they've scored 73 goals, 74 now, in their 26 Bundesliga games, and that's with still a half to play in this one. And that's an average of 2.92 per goals per game, with a goal difference of 47. 47. I mean, it was always going to be a tall order for anybody, let alone a newly promoted side, to keep them at bay for an entire 90 minutes.
Yeah, as I touched upon, I think that before the lockdown, Bayern were one of the most efficient and effective attacking units in European football, and we're not seeing signs that that's going to change. Yes, it's becoming a little bit more difficult. They're struggling a little bit to get up to the pace of the game, but as soon as they do so, they'll start to find those progressive movements. They'll start to break the lines, and they'll start to push Union back even further. I'm sure. I don't doubt that Bayern are going to go on and control the game for the rest of the second half. It's just going to be a case of whether they can find that second goal just to settle things down and change the game state again.
Absolutely, and we're just about ready to kick off the second half. If you're rejoining us, don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to share the broadcast via the app with the share option to your friends and family and get as many people on board as you possibly can. The Total Football Analysis, providing you an alternative soundtrack to your favourite football matches with the expert industry-leading, analysis from Lee Scott. We're back underway here. The ball's back with Manuel Neuer. Doesn't appear as though there have been any changes. Here is Neuer in the Bayern goal. Long ball forward towards that left-hand side in search of Gnabry. The ball ends up with Alphonso Davies, though. Marcus Hoffmann, the Union Berlin man, in the dugout today, replacing Urs Fischer, who, of course, isn't available. He's decided not to make any changes. Here come Bayern once more. Alphonso Davies on this left-hand side. Delivers left-footed towards Lewandowski, but he can't get it. Ball comes to Goretzka. Ball into the box. Apologies, it was Pavard with the initial pass. The pictures broke up there just momentarily. Muller again, looking to provide, looking for that little flick, looking for a 17th assist of this Bundesliga season.
I think early signs are the pattern will be the same. We haven't seen a change from Union. It's still three-man backline. Looks like they are trying to get players up more to support Uja, but they're not putting enough pressure on Bayern in possession, and that means that Bayern are able to pick them apart.
Lovely crossfield ball there in search of Serge Gnabry, and he's got him behind here. He's going to dance his way past these Union defenders, and he fires towards goal, but that's a great block. Great piece of defending. Looked as though Gnabry had beaten his man there, as though Gnabry was going to fire Bayern into a 2-goal lead. Brilliant ball from Pavard, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's what he's got. He's got that ability to crossfield ball, like that. The diagonal pass is extremely effective. He's got great range. And that's where Bayern like him. You will see him occasionally push forward, but he is more of a deeper presence compared to Davies on the left-hand side. And that just gives a little bit more control, if you like, in transition when Bayern's trying to defend.
Ball delivered into the box there by Union, but it was well gathered by Manuel Neuer, who sets Alphonso Davies off on an attack as Bayern look for another. Dispossessed, though, the Canadian international. The home side can have a breather whilst in possession. Do not underestimate how tiring it is to chase shadows throughout an entire football match. Having the ball feels like a break, doesn't it?
It does. Sometimes you'll see that. You'll see just a little rest and pause as the goalkeeper resets there. But again, the direct pass, usually Gilkovic is much better than that with his distribution. But there was just no target for him to hit in the final third. You see the three from Union there try to get a little bit higher to put pressure on Bayern, but now as you see the movement back towards the ball there from midfield, that's what gives them the ability to play through.
When you've got a goalkeeper as comfortable in possession as Manuel Neuer, who can just change the direction with a cute little chipped pass, it is so difficult to press against that, isn't it? It must be so disheartening to close down a goalkeeper with such great ability in possession.
Absolutely. That's why the importance of goalkeepers with the ball at their feet is so huge now.
Oh, Bayern going really, really close there. Really close there. Leon Goretzka, Pavard's ball into Goretzka, played it off to Muller, got it back and fired it low and hard across Gikovic's goal. It's just inches wide.
That's twice already in the second half. We've seen the combinations from Bayern nearly breaking through in the edge of the penalty area.
Delivery into the box from the resulting corner. Union look to clear the danger. They look to mount an attack of their own through Marcus Bülter. Slows down in the end. Concedes a throw in as a result. Grimmer will take the throw in for Union Berlin. Ball is flicked forward in the direction of the forward players, but Bayern have it back. All hooked back upfield by Jerome Boateng there. Here's Thiago in the middle of the park now for the league leaders. Gnabry looks to lay it off to Lewandowski, but he's dispossessed. Union given a free kick there, not sure what for. But they've lost possession already as Bayern pick up another free kick. And we see a yellow card brandished by the referee to number 31, Kevin Schlotterbeck, 23-year-old defender. Just late there on Goretzka, very late. His 5th yellow card of the season. Not much malice in it, mind you, but it was certainly late and certainly worthy of a yellow card.
Again, Bayern are looking to pull Union out towards them, towards the ball. You see they'll try to check back now to deny the space. So in these positions, Bayern are happy just to control possession and wait. And they know that eventually at 1-0 down, Union will have to press out and leave space behind them.
Alaba and Manuel Neuer playing a game of 1-2 amongst themselves. Before Neuer opts to launch it forward in search of Gnabry on that left-hand side. He can't get the ball under control. And the ball ends up with the Union Berlin goalkeeper in the end. The home side stopped in their tracks there by Jerome Boateng, who just stepped out of that central defensive position momentarily to deal with the danger. Christopher Lenz on a yellow card. 25-year-old has played 94% of Union Berlin's Bundesliga minutes this season. Another key player to Urs Fischer's side. Of course, managed today by Marcus Hoffmann in his absence. Delivery into the box from Trimmel. Oh, miscue there from Jerome Boateng, and he almost beat Manuel Neuer in his own goal. Fortunately, he was alert. Pretty comfortable save in the end, but could have gone so horribly wrong, couldn't it?
It could quite easily. Those opportunities for the opposition are always dangerous when the ball comes across like that. And defenders have to make a choice. In that instance, Boateng was caught in two minds and wasn't quite sure exactly what he was looking to do, I don't think.
Here's Muller now on this right-hand side for Bayern. He's drifted infield in possession. Kimmich under pressure. Finds Alaba. Ball through. Lovely layoff there. Brilliant footwork between the Bayern Munich men here. Out to Pavard on this right-hand side, but the pass was just a little bit short there from Goretzka. Pavard's got back and made a good challenge. Just missing that final pass.
They are. It's worth noting a little bit as well, Joshua Kimmich at the moment. We saw momentarily a couple of minutes ago when he dropped back between his two centre-halves to take possession of the ball. And then in that movement, he was pushed right up as a number 8 in the final third. He's looking to get into the ball more to try and dictate the tempo of the game and dictate the direction of the game. And that's something to watch going forward. He's very good at controlling things in that manner.
Just seen that replay of Jerome Boateng's attempted clearance. Ended up an effort on target against his own goal, but the ball just grazed off the bottom of his studs, and that's so dangerous because it can go anywhere. Unfortunately, Manuel Neuer was alert enough and on his toes and able to prevent that from happening. Union have a throw-in down on this near side, their left-hand side. Launched forward in the direction of Uja. Who will chase this ball over the top. Lays it inside in search of one of his teammates, but he's given it away. Kimmich under pressure there. Earns himself and his team a free kick after Robert Andreich came into the back of him.
You can see how quickly Bayern reset again. They're not slowing the game down. They know that they need a second goal just to give themselves a bit of breathing space. So they'll always be looking forward and looking progressively.
Great ball over the top here for Thomas Müller on this right-hand side, approaching the penalty area. Cuts back inside onto his left foot, stands it up at the far post, is headed back across goal, and the header's blocked, and Bayern have a corner. Brilliant play again. Robert Lewandowski just pulling away on that far post. Müller with a lovely dummy. Had the vision, stood it up at the far post. The delivery was good. Lewandowski from there had no real option but to try and head it back across goal.
Unusual for Lewandowski in that kind of position to take himself out of the width of the goal mouth. For a striker like Lewandowski, he tends to stay between the goalposts when the ball's in that position.
Delivery comes into the penalty area, met by a Bayern head. It's just wide from Benjamin Pavard. A good jump from Pavard, not the biggest player on the pitch by any means, but he's done well there.
He's equally comfortable playing centre half as well, of course. So Bayern have that option if Boateng does continue to be a little bit erratic. Pavard could very easily move in to partner David Alaba in that position.
Don't forget, if you're watching us via the Hot Mic app, smash that like button. And of course, if you're watching us via the Total Football Analysis YouTube channel, switch over to the app and you can sync our commentary with your television pictures. Expert analysis once again from Total Football Analysis's lead analyst, the one and only Lee Scott. Union Berlin have a throw-in on that right-hand side. It's into Ujo. Can't get it under control, but there's an effort from the edge of the penalty area. Just dragged wide there. Just dragged wide by Grisha Prömel.
Right idea. So second balls, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for the second ball to come back in those areas so they can get snapshots in goal. That's usually where they get their joy when they play against teams.
It was the right idea to go across the goal, but the execution wasn't quite right. As a result, Bayern have a goal kick. Neuer goes long in the end, despite his central defenders dropping in line with the 6-yard box there. Here come the visitors on the attack once more. It's Serge Gnabry on this left-hand side. Steps inside. He's crowded out by 3-4 even Union Berlin players. Don't forget, the second edition of the Total Football Analysis magazine for May will be out this week. Keep your eyes peeled for that. Head over to the website, sign up, and never miss an issue. Free kick given Bayern's way here. Grisha Prömel unhappy with the decision. Some of the players are starting to look a bit tired now, aren't they?
They are, and that's something we saw, of course, yesterday in the game that we covered between Dortmund and Schalke. We saw conditioned players start to flag a little bit in the second half, and again, it's understandable. It's one thing to train for a few weeks, but getting used to being up to match sharpness and match speed is very difficult. It takes it out of you, especially given the mental concentration you need during a match as well.
Absolutely, and that's why we've seen the Bundesliga slightly adapt the rules. 5 substitutions are allowed, as opposed to the usual 3. That is just until the end of this season in order to deal with the current circumstances and in order to try and prevent as many injuries as they possibly can. But it's inevitable, isn't it, Lee? We're going to see some players pick up muscle strains over the coming weeks that probably would have been avoided had this break not been enforced on them.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no way in football now, so much of training and so much workload in terms of training and match play is governed by sports science, and every team has sports scientists that advise the coaching staff of who should train, how hard they should train, who should play, how many minutes they should play. But sports science doesn't have anything as a reference point for this break that they've had without a pre-season as well. Just to go from the break to a few training sessions over the space of a couple of weeks and then suddenly back into match action. It's kind of a learning experience for all of those people as they try to get used to the new situation too.
Here come Bayern once more down this right-hand side. Benjamin Pavard lays it back to Kimmich. Now Boateng into Alaba inside the centre circle. Back to his central defensive partner. Ball into the feet of Robert Lewandowski, who flicks it deliciously over the defender, but he couldn't get on the end of it as the ball rolled back to Giekewitz in the Union Berlin goal. But that's a marvellous bit of skill and one that Robert Lewandowski is certainly capable of pulling off.
He is. People don't don't really give him credit for how good he is in a technical perspective. In terms of his touch, his technique, his ability to combine and bring others into play, he is excellent. It's just that that tends to be overshadowed by his sheer goal scoring ability. But we're starting to see that pass more from Bayern when they're going from the central defender straight through to the feet of Thomas Muller or Lewandowski in the centre. They're looking for the second ball to come back. They're looking to combine and take advantage of spaces there. And that's something that we may see more as the game progresses.
Free kick given Bayern's way there. The Union Berlin players are not happy whatsoever with that decision. Referee calling over number 19, Florian Hübner there. He called Hübner over, but it wasn't Hübner that made the challenge. Perhaps he was just remonstrating on Andrich's behalf. Had a telling off the Union Berlin midfielder.
In the hour mark now, I would imagine that we'll start to see some substitutions soon. Players are becoming less sharp, and that's obviously leading to the odd mistake and miscontrol. So we're likely to see both teams start to make changes shortly, I would imagine.
You've seen that reflected in the quality of the game, haven't you, as well, in the last 10 minutes or so?
Yeah, as fatigue sets in, the technical sharpness tends to fall off. The physical capacity to react quickly falls off, and that's when mistakes are made. So it will be in the minds now. It tends to be the 58th to 60th minute tends to be when you start to see substitution being made anyway without the lockdown and the conditioning factor. So I would be very surprised if we didn't see any in the next 3 or 4 minutes.
Thiago plays it inside to Kimmich. Wouldn't dare turn because there's 4 Union Berlin players in close proximity. Here's Alphonso Davies. Plays it back inside. Thiago looks to shift it onto that right foot and switch the play. Finds Benjamin Pavard. Lays it off to Boateng. Now Alaba. Home side camped behind the ball here.
Again, they looked for that driven pass into the feet of the striker centrally. So it's something obviously that's deliberate. We've now seen it on 3 or 4 occasions in the last 15 minutes. So keep looking for it. They are looking for that pass to then play off of that line and then create space.
Davis plays it inside. Here's Thiago. Goretzka looking for Müller out on that right-hand side, but the pass wasn't accurate enough, and the home side come bursting forward now down this left-hand side for Bülter. Delivers it left-footed towards the far post. Manuel Neuer having to react. The ball finds its way with Alphonso Davies on that far side. Not enough bodies forward.
Kimmich and Thiago are both deep there to receive the ball, and they move forward with the ball and just control everything that Bayern are doing at the moment.
The problem is for the home side, I'll just pause my point for a moment as Gnabry enters the penalty area and fires towards goal, but his shot is blocked. Bayern come again. Müller and Goretzka combining on this right-hand side. Müller plays it infield. Lovely bit of footwork as Bayern look to breach this stubborn Union Berlin defence, but to no avail on this occasion anyway. The point was that even if the likes of Marius Puelta get forward and Ingvartsen and the wing-backs, etc., unless Union Berlin can get bodies in the box and players up alongside them, it's going to be very, very difficult.
It definitely is. They need to think about something now just to get support up around Uja a little bit more, just to threaten that Bayern defence.
Ball into the penalty area from the right-hand side for Bayern Munich. It's smashed clear. Jerome Boateng just about keeps it in on this near side. Just about 3 or 4 yards shy of the halfway line.
And Union is still deep. They're still not pressing the ball in those situations, so they're still quite happy just to remain compact.
Ball into the box from Davis, left-footed. Headed clear by Subotic, of course, the man who conceded the penalty in the first half. The penalty that has been the difference here this afternoon or this evening, depending on where you're joining us from.
Again, look at the centre defenders for Bayern. Look how high they are. They're well in the Union half, and they're dictating the play from there. They're not worried at all about the pace and the break behind them.
Alphonso Davies flicks it into his teammate there, and he picks up the ball and drives forward. Picked up by Thiago. Plays it out to this left-hand side. Serge Gnabry in possession, looking to stand up the defender. Plays it inside. But again, the pass just isn't accurate enough. Fatigue starting to kick in with both sides. We're seeing loose passes. We're seeing poor, lazy, if you like, passes. Manuel Neuer just getting a hand to that cross from Vuelta earlier on. We're just seeing the replay of that on our screens. %66% of the possession has been with Bayern Munich. They've had 10 shots in total in comparison to Union Berlin's 7. Not that much difference in that particular statistic as you'd think, given the way this game has been played out. And Union Berlin look to get in behind once more. But again, the pass is overhit. And there's Manuel Neuer to deal with it. Sets Alphonso Davies on his way once again. Inside to Thiago. Out to this right-hand side where Pavard will receive the ball in space. Got room to move into. Cuts inside instead. Goretzka fouled there, surely. Nothing given. Not many appeals, though, from the Bayern players, which says a lot, normally.
Hands would be straight up. But you're seeing now, Union aren't really competing for those second balls, so they're allowing Bayern to have various phases of attack. So the first attack comes backwards, and then a second phase of the attack starts, or a Union foot gets on the ball, but then the ball breaks to Bayern. It's only a matter of time now, I think, before we see Union start to struggle to stop them from penetrating the penalty area.
Here come Bayern once more, having dispossessed Union in a dangerous area, but the two players there just not on the same wavelength. Gnabry gets a foot in. We'll look to close down Florian Hübner there, who smashes it forward.
Gnabry did very well there. He pressed, but kept his body position in such a way that he prevented the player from playing back into the centre. So he forced the ball down the line, hoping that they could win the ball back that way.
Delivery from the left-hand side from Lenz wins Union Berlin a corner. And we keep speaking about it, but this is their biggest threat, isn't it? Set pieces have been a real thing for Urs Fischer's side this season.
Absolutely. You'll see that low, flat delivery again, and it's going to create an opportunity should the time of the run be right.
Symeou has come over to take it. The 33-year-old has got 9 assists to his name already in the Bundesliga this season. Not bad for a right wing back. He'll deliver it right-footed, flat delivery as expected, but Manuel Neuer manages to gather it. It looks like a pretty routine catch, but when you've got 3 or 4 attacking players around you, it's never easy.
No, absolutely. The level of concentration to be able to track the ball when you're under pressure and there's that many runners coming across you is a difficult skill. People think that goalkeeping is relatively straightforward, but at the top level, there's a lot that goes into it on the mental side as well as the physical side.
.67 minutes played here. It's Union Berlin 0, Bayern Munich 1. Bayern looking to restore their lead at the top of the Bundesliga after it was cut to just a solitary point after Borussia Dortmund dispatched of their local rivals Schalke with great ease yesterday. Game that we covered here, Total Football Analysis, via the Hot Mic app. Don't forget, video analysis will be available shortly after the conclusion of this game on our YouTube channel. And of course, the written analysis is available now. Head over to totalfootballanalysis.com and check that out. Of course, the final game of the Bundesliga weekend takes place tomorrow. That's between Werder Bremen and Bayer Leverkusen. Bremen in real dangerous territory at the moment. Bayern come forward once more down this right-hand side. Müller delivers towards that far post. Symeou has time to get it down and find a teammate as the pair of them look to work it out of the danger area. Here's Lewandowski. Plays it into space for Benjamin Pavard to get forward. Is it back to Boateng? Thiago's dropped that. Apologies, that's Alaba. That's Thiago. Always available to the centre halves, isn't he?
Yes, he is. He's one of the best midfielders in Europe. His ability to find those spaces, and he always seems to know where to delay his run and where to stand to be able to facilitate the defender to escape the press. And both him and Kimmich playing as that double pivot in front of the defensive line, they are key for Bayern. And the fact that they're able to control the game, control the ball so well.
Ball's just rolled out of play there for a Bayern Munich throw-in. It's like we're going to see some changes.
And that's Anderson coming on, the striker for Union. So we'll see a bit more of a presence up front for them, I think.
Uja is the man making way.
Christian Genter, the Cole midfielder, the ex-Cole midfielder, I think is the other that we're just seeing now.
That's right. Genter replacing Andrik.
It's just like for like. There's nothing different there. Both changes are like for like, so they're not committing more players forward.
Bayern making their first change of the game as well. Leon Goretzka makes way for Kingsley Coman. Will we see a change of formation here or not?
I think you're likely to see Muller playing more centrally as a fixed position now. Coman's very much more comfortable in the wide areas. Similar to Gnabry, explosive pace, great close control, and the ability to penetrate into the penalty area.
Here is Coman with his first touches of the game. Ball out to this left-hand side where Robert Lewandowski has taken up position. Ball into the penalty area. Gone out for a goal kick though. Thomas Müller looking to steal a march there on the Union Berlin defence. So dangerous coming into the box late, isn't he, Thomas Müller?
Yeah, he attacks that space so well, and that's something that Bayern do very well. It's not often you see Lewandowski pulled right out to the wide space like that, but that underlapping run from Davies when there's a player wide, that's when he's dangerous. When he gets into the corner of the penalty area like that, and those hard, low-driven crosses, they're really effective. But you already see Müller there centrally playing just off Lewandowski. Coman's out on the right-hand side with Gnabry still on the left.
Alaba just ushering the ball back to Manuel Neuer, who opts for a long clearance towards the right-hand side, towards Kingsley Coman, but Union Berlin have possession in the middle of the park here. Not for long, though. Coman inside. Thiago lays it off to Kimmich. Into the feet of Müller, who, as you said, quite rightly, Lee, looks as though he's adopted a more central position. There'll be less of those runs, we assume, out to that right-hand side now that Coman is occupying that space.
Coman's very much more of a winger, so he will look to stay wide, look to beat his man and get the ball in the penalty area as much as he can.
Here is Coman now, receiving the ball from Pavard. 1-on-1 with Neven Subotic. To deliver into the penalty area. Wins Bayern Munich a corner on the 73rd minute. It's Union Berlin 0, Bayern Munich 1. But as long as it's just one, Union Berlin will feel that they have a chance. They'll feel that they just need that one opportunity, that one moment. Can Bayern put this game to bed? Hansi Flick will certainly be hoping so, as Kimmich puts the ball down to take the corner. Going to deliver it right-footed. Bounced in the penalty area there. It's hooked away. Manuel Neuer comes almost to the halfway line to receive it.
There's no reference there for Union to play up into.
This is the problem, isn't it? There is no outlet for Union. And when the ball was getting up there, particularly when Anthony Uja was on the pitch, it wasn't sticking. They weren't being allowed to get players up in support of him. And he'll probably take a bit of criticism for that, but it seems a bit unfair to me. Miscue there from Alphonso Davies. Not the most convincing of clearances, and it's an opportunity here for Union Berlin. but the opportunity has perhaps passed. Or has it?
Again, we see that's what they try to do. They try to get the ball forward and then play off that second ball. So when the mistake was made by the Bayern defender and broken the centre, that's when Union come alive. That's where they create their goal scoring opportunities from. It looks scrappy, but it's very much a deliberate act.
Seeing the replay again. Boot swung at the ball there, but to no avail. By Genter, I think it was, as you mentioned, the former Cologne man. Approaching the last 15 minutes of this game. Bayern haven't been at their brilliant best by any means, but if they do manage to take all 3 points back to Munich, it'll be a professional job and one that you expect to see from champions.
Definitely. This is always a difficult game. Not many teams like come to the stadium to play this Union side because they are so scrappy. They're so difficult to play against. They're so direct in their attack and play, and they're so compact defensively. So anything get away from here is really a positive.
You compared them to Burnley earlier, but that was a Stoke City throw in there from Christopher Lenz. He delivers it now left-footed towards that far post. Alphonso Davies unable to get possession, and Ingvartsen will set it up for another delivery. Ball into the penalty area once more. Subotic now, left-footed low towards the penalty area. It was a poor pass in truth. Not sure what he had in mind there as Bayern look to break. Serge Gnabry comes powering down this left-hand side. He's got options. He's got Coman to his right. He uses him. Coman puts it back across the goal low. Perhaps might have been better served driving it towards that far post himself.
Very unselfish, but that's the danger. We've been talking about it as Union start to attack and start to commit more men forward. The pace of Gnabry, the pace of Coman in transition on the break will pull them apart. In that situation, you would expect a player like Coman to aim for the back post. Obviously, he's just looking for the combination instead. I can guarantee you Thomas Muller would have shot.
Gnabry did come sliding in an effort to get there, but the pass had a little bit too much on it in the end. Very unselfish, though, from Kingsley Coman. Almost as though Bayern are often trying to score the perfect goal, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Here come Union once more. Ball into the feet of Anderson. Looks to play it round the corner. They've got the ball back here, though, the home side. In possession, around the edge of the box. Chance to deliver it in again. This time it's low, left-footed, but it's cut out at the near post. They'll have another chance to get the ball in the box, and another stab at it there from Yenta.
They're starting to commit more players forward, and we're seeing that. They're starting to have more success in their second and third balls and their phases of play. They're controlling it a little bit better in that final third and creating chances. But of course, that leads to problems defensively. So it'll be interesting to see if they keep that up for the remainder of the game, Union.
They've got no choice but to throw men forward now. 77 minutes, 78th minute now. What's the point in sitting back and waiting for it to pass?
There you go. It looks like a two-man front line now for Union, so they are committing more players forward to try and support the attack.
Brilliant from Gnabry there. Pace, power, energy. Plays in Alphonso Davies. Cuts it back to Serge Gnabry. Lovely touch. Opportunity to fire towards goal. And there was Gikiewicz to make a good save down on the floor.
A little bit of sharpness again there from Gnabry to be able to get that shot away quicker when he had the opportunity that opened up. But good footwork to create the space. And again, that combination between Gnabry and Davies is so dangerous for Bayern Munich.
Could even argue that perhaps he didn't need to take that extra touch.
Yeah.
Here's Coman playing his teammate in behind. Lewandowski, I believe it is. Apologies, Benjamin Pavard had made the run forward. Don't forget, if you are watching us on the Hot Mic app, you can share the broadcast using the share feature. And don't forget to hit that like button if you haven't already. Bayern corner, delivered, right-footed. Oh man, on the edge of the penalty area there. Ball into the channel. Have Bayern won a corner there? If Benjamin Pavard has, that's excellent work. Because there wasn't much else he could have done with it.
There. No.
Absolutely.
Again, it's that vertical pass that they're firing at the penalty area now, putting pace on it, try and get the touch so they can turn around the defenders.
Absolutely. It was a ball from Kimmich into Benjamin Pavard. Bayern with a corner. Kimmich delivers, right-footed. Bayern get ahead to it, and Bayern get their second goal. It's Bayern Munich 2, Union Berlin 0. Brilliant stuff.
Pavard again.
Benjamin Pavard, once again, has found the space. He's showing his aerial prowess once more. It's a brilliant leap. You've got to be so strong to make that jump and make such accurate contact with the ball without being put off by those around you. He's done extremely well there, Pavard. Heads it down into the ground. Gikiewicz with absolutely no chance, and that will be curtains now, surely. Union Berlin 0, Bayern 2.
It was relatively simple as well. Now with set pieces, you see such a focus on them, and there's a lot of different patterns of play and blocking movements that are made in the penalty area. But that was just good delivery and a good contact on the edge of the 6-yard box from Pavard. But for a team like Union, who do put so much emphasis on set plays, they will be extremely disappointed to have conceded.
Pavard's third goal, of the Bundesliga season. Mies has come on for Union Berlin to replace Ingvartsen.
We haven't really seen Ingvartsen throughout the game, but he's more of a second striker, a player who generally tries to affect the play and support the striker. Mies is more of a traditional winger, so whether we'll see more direct play from them using that wide area, I'm not sure.
There's a Union Berlin player down in the centre circle here. They've put the ball out of play so he can receive treatment, holding his face.
Two or three times tonight we've seen that ability from Bayern Munich in the penalty area from corner kicks and set plays. Delivery from Kimmich is always on point, but they've been able to get touches on the ball in the penalty area and try to create second chances. So no great surprise to see them score from a set piece, but again, Union will be disappointed that that's a penalty kick and a goal from a corner that they've conceded.
Absolutely. Kevin Schlotterbeck just was down there momentarily after a clash with Thomas Müller. Wild arm from Müller. Caught the player in the face. Seems to be fine now, though. As Union Berlin look for a way back into this game. Difficult to see it now with 7 minutes plus stoppage time remaining. But
they would need to get something quickly, and even then they're having to commit a lot of players forward to do so, and Bayern will now be looking for a third goal. They won't sit back.
Not sure they know how to, given the attacking talent that they have in this side. It's certainly something they're not forced to do much anyway. Ball forward for Union Berlin. They've got a man over on this left-hand side if they can use him. Christopher Lenz, low delivery, blocked at the near post. Plays the ball back to Neven Subotic. Back out to Lenz once more. Left-footed again towards the far post. Gone out of play.
We're talking about the attacking talent of Bayern Munich. They're, of course, heavily linked to Leroy Sané from Manchester City. I'm not entirely sure where Sané gets into this team, but it would be quite a problem to have for Hansi Flick.
There is a lot of talk of if he was to leave, that it would, if he was to arrive, if Sané was to come to Bayern, it would be because Kingsley Coman is on his way. And just to demonstrate the attitude of this Bayern side, they're 2-0 up. There's 6 minutes plus stoppage time remaining. It's a tricky away fixture, having come back from a long, difficult break. And just then, where the ball went out of play, when Union Berlin overhit the cross, Manuel Neuer's first thought was to put the ball down as quickly as possible and get play moving again. That just highlights, doesn't it, how much Bayern want to play, how much they want to attack, and the fact that they won't sit back and they won't just be happy with what they got.
Absolutely. Their mentality is elite, and that's always been the case for Bayern. They're a club that doesn't understand or doesn't like losing, certainly, and they do everything to prevent that.
Felix Kruse has come on for Union Berlin. Both sides making changes. Just await confirmation of those. Perisic has come on for Bayern to replace Serge Gnabry.
And that's a different threat. Perisic, of course, doesn't have the pace of Gnabry, but he is very technical and more likely to penetrate the penalty area quickly.
Former Inter Milan man, of course. Part of the Croatian squad that made the last World Cup final. Christopher Trimmel to take this corner for Union Berlin. 85 minutes played. Not much time for them to try and salvage something here, but they'll give it a go. Delivered, right-footed, flat delivery again, as Lee's pointed out on numerous occasions this evening. Kroos replacing Promel in the middle of the Union Berlin midfield. Riverson's also come on to replace Bulter.
I think that's a move from Union just to get a little bit more energy in the final third. Whether it's a technical or tactical change, I'm not sure. They're just looking to replace tired legs and try and get more vertical movement as they attack.
Here they come. They might have found a bit of room in behind here. Alphonso Davies's recovery pace there. Unreal. Unreal.
Yep. 86th minute, having not played the game for weeks at the competitive level, and he's still got that ability to burst back there for his team.
That is unreal pace there that he showed. Because the Union man was in. He was in behind. Here's Subotic. Union looking to build another attack. Dispossessed is Kingsley Coman. Lovely
Union
bit of
are
trickery.
far less effective with those slow-paced attacks. And you can see that they're more comfortable with moving the ball quickly in the final third. That's what the players are looking for. They don't have the same ability to move in those pockets of space and to find the passes that split the Bayern defence that Bayern do themselves.
Here's Pavard on this right-hand side. Second goal scorer for Bayern this evening. Coman delivers into the penalty area as Bayern look for a third. They haven't got a third, but they've got a corner. Or is it a throw-in? Didn't quite see on our pictures where the ball ended up. Looks like a throw-in. Thomas Müller will take it. Bayern can't quite keep it in. Josh Kimmich just almost bullied out of the way there.
And then you see the press again, 87th minute of the game, and they're still pressing that first ball to try and create a turnover in the Union half. As we said, it's elite mentality.
Absolutely, it is indeed. And with just a couple of minutes left, Lee, who's your man of the match this evening and why?
I think it's a difficult one. I'd probably pick Joshua Kimmich for this match. I think that his ability both in the defensive phase and the attacking phase has been important for Bayern. He's always been there to provide a passing outlet. He's shown his press resistance. And of course, his delivery from set pieces has proven key with that second goal. So I would think I would go with Joshua Kimmich tonight.
Brilliant stuff. Let us know in the comments section if you agree with Lee's choice. Joshua Kimmich, his man of the match this evening. Bayern come again. Ikovic sharp there. Got there first. Clears it out for a Bayern throw-in just inside their own half. Bayern are going to make another change. It's Thomas Müller who is going to make way. He's had a great game, hasn't he?
He has. He's been excellent. And again, it's that ability to do the unusual, as you see him kicking somebody to give them a high five as he comes off the pitch. He's certainly taken his game to another level, I think, over the course, the interrupted course, the second half of this season.
Michael Cuisance replacing him. Union inside the Bayern penalty area, just outside of it now. Looking to have one last go. Lovely ball in behind there. Two players getting confused in the shots towards goal. Neuer manages to make a save. Subotic heads it back in towards the penalty area, but it will bounce through to the goalkeeper, who's taking his time this time. Comfortable save in the end for Neuer. Stands his ground, as he does so well, so often.
He's one of the best in the world at that. The ability to spread his body, to make himself big, and to cover the angles of his goal. You see it there. Shots look like they're coming straight at the goalkeeper. It tends to be because the position of the goalkeeper is so good to begin with. Interesting to see Michael Cuisance come on for Bayern Munich. He's a player who was very highly rated a couple of years ago, perhaps has started a little bit, and who they signed from Borussia Mönchengladbach. Somebody who hasn't had a lot of first team minutes this season.
3 minutes added time as Union Berlin look to mount another attack. Ball's delivered into the box, is headed clear by Alphonso Davies. Bayern earn themselves a free kick there, courtesy of Florian Hübner's challenge on Robert Lewandowski. Another one who's had a very decent game up front without doing a great deal of spectacular things, let's say.
No, but he doesn't tend to. The spectacular isn't necessarily his game. It's more about the effectiveness and every single facet of the game. He doesn't possess great pace, but he's quick. He isn't strong. He isn't overly strong, but he's powerful enough to hold off defenders. The fact he's able to do almost anything that you want a striker to do is why he's the best striker in the world right now. 26
goals in 24 appearances. Difficult to argue with that, Lee, as Bayern have a corner down on that far side, won by Christian Perisic. Daniel Cuisance will take it. Michael Cuisance, I apologise.
He is left-footed, so expect the outswinger. Yep, here you go.
Delivery flicked on at the near post towards the far post. Kingsley Coman was waiting there. The ball's been hooked clear.
But again, even now, Union don't have a reference point to clear the ball up to, so it's just easy possession at the moment for Bayern as they look to build again.
Boateng with a cross-field pass out to that left-hand side. It's taken down nicely, but the second touch was a little bit of a loose one. And the home side win a throw-in as a result.
I think Union have done well tonight. They've done well defensively, and the defensive compactness. The issue, of course, is what's let them down over the whole season. They haven't been able to affect the game properly in the attacking phase, and that's something that they will have to look at coming into next season when they are likely still to be a Bundesliga side. If they can just find that mechanism to find a release in the final third, as opposed to relying so heavily on set plays, I think that they could go on to become an effective team in the Bundesliga going forward.
Fortunately for them, they don't have to play Bayern Munich every week. As we see Pavard involved in a challenge there. Looks a painful one from both sides. Christopher Lenz involved. Free kick went Bayern's way in the end. And again, Lenz on a yellow card. It's not the first challenge he's made since being booked that you could question whether it was worthy of a second one. It's full time here in Berlin. It's Union Berlin 0, Bayern Munich 2 in the end. Comfortable victory for the league leaders, who extend their lead once more to 4 points at the top of the Bundesliga heading into match day 27. Don't forget to give Lee a follow on Twitter, FM Analysis. Follow Total Football Analysis too. You can see the information on your screen. Head over to totalfootballanalysis.com, sign up and check out the brilliant, fantastic content. If you're watching us via YouTube, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to download the Hot Mic app though, using the TFA 2020 code. And if you're still on the broadcast, hit that like button. if you haven't already. Massive thank you to every single one of you for joining us this evening, and a big thanks to Lee Scott as well for his expert insight and analysis, without that this broadcast wouldn't be half as good as it is. So thank you, Lee, and I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have once again. We'll be back very, very soon. Stay tuned to our Twitter feed and to the website for information on future games we'll be covering, but we've got a treat for you next weekend with at least a couple of games coming up from the team at Total Football Analysis. So until then, take care of yourselves, and we'll be back very, very soon.